Hey, what's going on? It's the Bearded One back at you again, new video. Hey, so in today's video, we're gonna talk some tactics and some negotiating skills to help you get top dollar for your home if you're looking to put it on the market during this spring and summertime. All right, so if you don't know, spring, summertime are usually our peak season for people buying and selling real estate. So if you wanna know more strategies and ways to help you get your house sold for top dollar, stick around for this video and I'll give you some tips. All right, be right back. All right, so let's get into today's video. But before I do that, let's talk about who am I. I am Maurice Murphy, better known as the Bearded One, 0NE. And I used to go by this thing called the Bearded Realtor before some copyright and trademark infringements happened. So I had to change the name. So now I'm called the Bearded One. I'm a Jacksonville, Florida residential real estate agent. And what I do to talk about on this channel, I talk about tips for buyers and sellers, tips for potential investors, and I also talk about beard and what I'm doing to groom my beard. All right, so that sounds like something you're interested in. Click that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up for the content on this channel. So let's hop into today's video. We're gonna talk some negotiating tips and skills to help you get top dollar for your home. So the first thing I want to talk about is market dynamics and understand those market dynamics. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about you really truly need to understand what is going on in your nearby market for your home. So what does it take to make that happen? You really need to study homes that are comparable to your home, what they sold for in the past 3 months or 6 months. If there hasn't been that many homes sold, go back a little bit further, all the way up to a year. So you want to truly get an idea of what that house sold for and what the house condition looked like when it sold. So that way you'll know in your mind, you can be like, okay, hey, I know I can at least get this amount because it has the same amount of bedrooms, same amount of square footage. It's built pretty much the same as the house that sold down the street. So you will be very educated on what's going on in the market. That's the first thing I want you to do. Now, what I don't want you to do is, I don't want you to listen to your neighbor Bob down the street that told you he sold his house for this amount without doing your own research. And I see that happen a lot because Bob will kind of fabricate the numbers and tell you one thing, but then you actually look at what Bob sold his house for and it's completely a little bit off from what he mentioned the house sold for. So do your own research and make sure you understand what's going on in your immediate market area. Second thing I want you to do is consult with a real estate professional that can give you competitive pricing for your home. As we talked about in the beginning, you can kind of get an idea of what Bob truly sold his house for down the street, which is comparable to your house, and get that actual real estate professional to help you with that competitive pricing. Because we all know, and if you don't know, pricing is probably the most, if not the most important thing when selling your home, especially here in Florida. The market has changed a lot for the past 2 years when we had COVID, and you really have to be competitive on your pricing when you put your house on the market. So consult with that real estate professional, maybe myself, if not me, find you your best fit for your real estate professional and get that advice, that expert advice from them so they can educate you on what the best price is to list your home for. So that's number 2. All right, so the third thing is, and I've talked about on the channel before, is enhancing your property's appeal. Nowadays, a lot of buyers have gone to being very picky, and I won't say picky, but they've been very strategic about what they want to pay for, because even though prices are still kind of pretty much on the rise, they want to pay for the best property that they have a choice from, because there's a lot more homes sitting on the market longer than what they have been in the past. So buyers have a real option of which house they want to go with. So making your house appealing to potential buyers really helps to sell their home much faster and for top dollar. Certain ways you can do this is maybe doing some painting, maybe doing some upgrades, and also creating that great curb appeal when you see the home. So it doesn't have to be fully blown flower beds and all this, but you definitely want to have a nice and neat curb appeal when buyers come to your home. Because you don't want to have a nice house and the curb appeal looks like crap. You really want to have something that really shows the beauty on the outside as much as it does on the inside. And also that curb appeal really gives that first impression of the home. So increasing your property's appeal to potential buyers really will set your home apart from anybody else that's put their house on the market, okay? The next thing is the flexibility on closing closing costs. So we're coming into, like I said, we're coming to the spring and summertime, which is our peak season. Now, if you have a home that you want to get sold, be flexible on the closing costs, okay? Most, if not all, potential buyers want to have some flexibility on that closing cost so they don't have to come out of their pocket with the money, and they have some wiggle room, or the seller will have some wiggle room to give them some seller's concession towards their closing costs. So be flexible on those closing costs. Closing costs usually run between 3 to about 6%, depending on the type of loan that buyer has. So be flexible on that closing cost, because ultimately, if you need to get this house sold, you don't want to be stringent and hamstrung to be not like willing to negotiate those closing costs. So if they ask for too much, maybe bring down the amount and still try to make something work between you and that potential buyer that's looking to buy your home, okay? So be flexible on the closing costs. All right, so the next thing is responding to offers strategically. What do I mean by that? Don't get offended when a buyer submits an offer to you. You need to sell this home, so you really need to strategically sit down with your real estate professional and come together on a strategy to how to counter this offer. Don't just flat out refuse the offer. Figure out what works best for you. Sit down with your real estate professional so you feel as though you've got the best possible offer on the table to get your home sold. And also what you want to do is have your real estate professional ensure that this buyer has the highest likelihood to close. Because what you don't want to have happen is you don't want to get an offer and then that buyer can't close due to financial reasons. So make sure that your real estate professional has completely vetted this buyer so you'll know and you'll feel that sense of, okay, I can trust that this is going to happen and this house is going to close. You strategically come up with a counter offer that works best for you and that potential buyer. So what my point is, don't completely shut down any offers that you get. Be considerate of what the possibilities are and if you can get the most amount of money that you can with this potential buyer, okay? Now, if you got multiple offers, that's a totally different story. But if you only got one offer on the table, strategically sit down with your real estate professional and make sure that you come up with a great plan and vet that buyer to make sure they have the highest likelihood to close on that home. So the next thing is building some rapport between you and that potential buyer. Yes, we all know that you have the agents in between, but what you would like to do is, if there's an offer submitted, respond to it as soon as you can. Don't just sit on it and wait and be like, well, you know, we'll get to you when you get to it. You really want to be responsive, and then throughout the process, you want to be responsive when there's an issue or something comes up with that potential buyer. You don't want to drag your feet with things need to be done, that things need to be signed. You want to stay in great rapport between you and the potential buyer, okay? Because ultimately, you want to get the house sold, and you need to get this house sold, so you don't want to cause some friction between you and the potential buyer. And the agents, if you have a great real estate agent, they will dissolve a lot of that. So just make sure you're doing the best that you can to make sure that the deal goes through and you ultimately get what you want, and that's selling your home, all right? So let's talk about the last piece, finalizing the deal. So let's make sure that you read the contract, you and the agent sit down and go over any contingencies, anything that could hold up that deal from happening. Make sure you address any contingencies, any terms of the contract that the buyer is asking for, and also be available if and when that house goes under contract. If you're gonna be gone, or if you need to travel, or if you're gonna be moving out to your next destination prior to the closing, make sure you communicate that with your seller's agent or your listing agent so they know how to address the situation to do any type of mail away. Mail away is when they mail the documents to you and you just have a notary sign it where you're located and send those back. So you want to make sure that everything is fully disclosed so all parties knows what's going to happen for the closing. So make sure you do that and you can have a smooth and seamless process to closing, okay? So that's really all I have for today. Making sure that you can have some negotiating tactics. Make sure you get your home sold for top dollar. So if you have any further questions or have anything that you want to talk about, hit me up in the comment section below. Let's have a conversation, all right? So that's all I have for you today. I am the Bearded One. I am a licensed Florida realtor here located in the Jacksonville area, and I serve all 4 counties surrounding Jacksonville. So if you need any help, hit me in the comment section like I said before, and I'll definitely talk to you soon.